and then we do it. Or green Tara. I mean, it's good if you do something simple so that you really do it. And because, yeah, you know, hi, I'm sorry, I'll be able to activate my camera soon. Yeah, I hope so too. It's lovely to see you sometimes, Tommy.
Losang, we are practicing weekly the sadhana that you sent me.
Yeah, I know. I know
that I remember.
I know that you're doing that. We started doing it every week. First we did, you know, like in normal times, we did only like once a month we would do the puja, 4 mandala offerings to Chittamani Tara, and once a month we would do the green Tara practice. Now we also do the green Tara practice once a week.
It's so profound. It's so powerful.
It's very, very powerful.
Very powerful.
Very powerful. Also, what we also started to do, which is also very powerful, because you see, it's our karma that we have these situations. So we are taking 8 Mahayana precepts, full moon and new moon, every month. Yeah, and I do this at 5 o'clock in the morning, even though it's still dark, because so people can participate. People can participate that then have to go to work. You know, when I say people can participate, then it sounds like, wow. So sometimes there's 2 of us, sometimes there's 3. But I feel for myself how every time, because taking them regularly, I never, you know, we took them maybe 4 times a year on the powerful Buddhist days. But now taking them so regularly, I can really feel the power of them. And I have every day each day I take them, I'm so happy. Because you see, also I take the vow of not kind of going into TV and news and all these kinds of things. And you only eat lunch, so then you have a lot of free time to do what you need to do. So this is why. So this is another thing. And I don't know if you know, when we took the precepts on the eve of the Yom Kippur day, I don't know how many people took the precepts, but there were about 50 people, and they didn't leave. So, with the Zoom, you can just go. So I went like, wow, this is amazing. Taking vows is really powerful, and especially if you only have to take them for 24 hours. So I don't know if you have a Hebrew version of this, because if somebody is into taking vows, you could also organize that. I know there's a lot of things happening on the Zoom and one can do many things, but this is, takes what, 20 minutes, half an hour? You do it early morning before you go to work. It's perfect. Just a suggestion. Okay, so Liora, you can maybe say again about what Chado Rinpoche said and about the practice. And then if people have questions, then ask them to Liora. Ask now. So then, yeah. Liora Price.
We never know which Liora.
Yeah.
Chado Rinpoche, actually, he recommended it.
Why don't you say in Hebrew?
אוקיי. ג'אדו רימפוצ'ה המליץ לנו כבר בגל הראשון של הקורונה, כמו הדלי למה, להגיד את המנטרה של טרה, מה שאנחנו עושים בימי שלישי, זה אנחנו מתרגלים את הסדנה של טרה הירוקה, סדנה שאני לוסנג שלחה לנו, שערך אותה על המזופה רימפוצ'ה, לפי ההוראות של למה ישה, מי שרוצה להסתכל מראש מה זה, אז כשנכנסים באתר לפסקה הזאת שמדברת על טרה ועל התרגול, שילך עד למטה, אני היום בדיוק בדקתי אם זה ישנו, עד למטה, ואז רואים את הסדנה, את הטקסט שמופיע שם, כולל כל ההקדמה שאנחנו נוהגים להגיד אותה בקצרה ביום התרגול, וכמובן המנטרה, עם ההסברים של מה המשמעות של המנטרה, ואנחנו גם כן קבוצה, כמו שאני לא סנגתר, אנחנו קבוצה מאוד מאוד קטנה, אנחנו בין 2 ל4, מקסימום 5 איש, אבל כולנו דבקים בזה פלוס מינוס כל שבוע, וזה פשוט עוצמתי מאוד לקבל את העצמות של טרה. את הטיהור שלה ואת העצמות שלה, זה חזק בצורה מדהימה. זהו, אתם מוזמנים להצטרף, ואם אתם מהססים, אז תקראו.
וגם, נוסף לזה, ההמלצה היא לדקלם את המנטרה שמפורסמת באתר, שהיא מאוד קצרה, אום טארטו טארטו רסואה, כמה שיותר פעמים. ואפשר לעשות מעלה שלמה בדקות, וזה מאוד עוצמתי.
שאני אכתוב את זה עכשיו בצ'אט? אני אכתוב את המנטרה.
זה ישנו באתר, כן. גם בצ'אט זה טוב, וזה ישנו באתר, בסליידר בצד ימין למעלה.
התרגול הוא בטיבטית?
לא, הוא באנגלית, הסדנה כתובה באנגלית, אבל בכל ההדמיה שאני מנחה, אני עושה את זה בעברית.
מצוין.
שילוב כזה של עברית. מה שקוראים לקחת מקלט וכל הנוסחים המאוד מדויקים, זה באנגלית, בשפה בסגנון, בנוסח הקבוע, אבל כל ההדמיה וההרהור והמדיטציה על הריקות, אני מנחה את זה בעברית.
נהדר. תודה.
בכיף.
Sigal is saying that she can't see me. I'm here, Sigal. And the screen is still, everybody still kind of fits on one screen. So that should be okay. If you see our Gompa, so I'm very lucky. You see, I have like Queen Tara is the one, the bigger one there. And then it's the 20 Taras sitting around her. So I have them right here. And it's good to really, it's good to really also ask these Buddhas, these deities, of course, they're not omnipotent or whatever, but to really ask them for help. I think it activates something in us. So this is why we use these figures and these images, because it activates our own potential to be loving and compassionate and wise, especially. Yeah, so it nourishes our own nature, basically, to be good. So it's always good to connect. But again, it doesn't exist from its own side. So if you have absolutely no connection to it, and coming from the Jewish tradition, you think like, oh, I don't know what God is thinking about this, or you think that you're doing something that is unhelpful or that you shouldn't do, then of course it doesn't work so well. So like that. But it's worthwhile to try it out. It feels very strange at the beginning, that's for sure. If you have never done it, visualizing something, female, which has bare breasts and is green and body of light and all these kinds of things. But it's kind of going a little bit into a different dimension. And it also showing us that, what we call real, it's also not real. So we might as well visualize or project something that is pure, also just a projection, also just produced by the mind, but at least something that is pure instead of this impure, what we call cycle of existence, which is, there's a lot of dukkha. So, yeah, it's a matter of trying. And then if you, maybe more than once until you get a little bit familiar with it. And if you are open to it, and you could then start to feel some effect, because also it says like Tara is the one who liberates from all fears. Like she's green and she symbolizes, Chenresik is, Chenresik is symbolizing the manifestation of a fully enlightened being's compassion, and Tara is manifesting or symbolizing the activity of a fully awakened being. She's green, it's the element of the wind. She's very swift, she's very quick. This is why she already has one foot down and all these kinds of things. And she's called like the mother of all, like Lama Yeshe used to call her Mami Tara. So it's quite nice. So it's, it's good to create the connection. And the Tibetans always, when there's danger or whatever, they start to recite Tara mantras or the Tara praises immediately. Okay, Tom, you still want to say a bit?
I think most of us here are.
I think you don't need to exactly. We know everybody, you know, so it's like.
But I'll do it quick and then we'll start.
Okay, as you like.
So I'll do this bit in Hebrew. אז שלום לכולם, אנחנו שבים לשיעור של אני לוסנג בנושא בודיסטווה, שמדריך לאורך חייו של הבודיסטווה, הפרק על הסבלנות. שמח לראות שכולכם וכולכם איתנו שוב, ואם יש חדשים אז ברוכים הבאים. קודם כל אני אגיד שכל מה שאנחנו רואים כאן, כל הסרטונים וכל השיעורים של אני לוסנג ושל מורים אחרים, כולם אפשר למצוא בעמוד היוטיוב של ידידי הדרמה, שאני עוד מעט בצ'אט אני אפרסם את הכתובת שלו, וגם אפשר למצוא מידע על הפעילויות השונות לשיעורים באתר של ידידי הדרמה, שגם על הכתובת הזאת אני אצטרף עוד מעט. בנוסף אני אוסיף שאם אתם מוצאים או מוצאות את התרגול הזה למועיל וטוב, אני מזכיר שכל הפעילות שלנו כאן היא מתוך נדיבות הלב, ואנחנו מזמינים אתכם גם לתת לנו נדיבות לבכם ככל לערוכם באמצעות דנה, וניתן לתרום או לארגון ידידי הדרמה באופן כללי, או למורה אני לוסנג באופן פרטי, ובשביל לעשות זאת אפשר לעשות בקישור שאני אעלה עוד מעט של PayPal. וזהו, אז תודה רבה שאתם מצטרפים. Thank you very much, Ani, for having this, for making this lesson every week for so many times, and really appreciate it. And you can go now.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You know, it's good for me also because I also cannot really do these things. So it's kind of, you know, it's just this exchange. So it's absolutely a pleasure, and it's not a burden. And at the beginning it was a bit. Oh, when Liora, you remember when she phoned in March and she said, "Can you do something online?" I said, "Oh no, ask some other teachers." And so, but I got used to it, and I see the benefit of it. And yeah, it's like Shantideva says in verse 14 in this chapter. I don't know if you remember that he says, "Nothing does not get easier when you get used to it." So, you know, this is something that we can see, and this is something that we can really trust. But we start the session again with some basic awareness, because basic awareness, you know, I can't emphasize it enough. It is really, really important if you want your mind to transform, then if you want to have a happy life, basically, if you want to see. And it's so important though, because then we sit in meditation, and so many people, even if we hear it like so many times, that meditation is not about being calm, it's not about feeling good in the meditation, it's not about this, not about that, but still we take the expectations with us into the meditation. It's kind of deep sitting. Yeah, that we get upset or we get surprised if we don't feel spacious and open and all this. But it's not about that. It's about, you know, it's about being present. It's about knowing what is going on, but with a stable and calm mind. So the calmness, you can't force it. You cannot will it. And it's also not the purpose, really. The purpose is for knowing. The purpose is to know how the mind works, what makes us suffer, and that we have some tools then to transform. So what we Westerners are not very good at is not doing anything, you know. So sometimes even, you know, these very simple instructions to be on the breath, I find that sometimes even that for Westerners is too much, because then again, we are doing something. You know, we have instructions, we follow them, and they're very earnest and very serious, and we're not relaxed enough. Yeah, and being relaxed and awake, I mean, is so important. So this morning I had to do something for a secular group. So I had to think about something, you know, that is not Buddhism and doesn't sound like religions, how to kind of, to get the feeling how you would, that you have in the meditation, or how you would start. So we can do this now, because, and then you can tell me how you find this as a Dharma practitioner. Okay? So that we are relaxed and open and kind of, you know, a feeling that we know. We need to reproduce a situation. Has everybody taken aeroplanes? Or do we have somebody who has never taken an aeroplane? Okay, because that's the situation. So, okay. So then while you are sitting, try to sit with a straight back if you can. Of course, if you have a back that is hurt or that is injured or anything like this, and you need to lie down, that's fine. But it's good to make the effort, but you know, a friendly effort, not a harsh effort, to try to sit with a straight back. And then when one says, you know, to let go of all expectations, then we don't know how to do that. So you can maybe remember, or, you know, you have experienced it. Let's say you go on a trip with an airplane, and your journey from home to the airport. Try to maybe reproduce that state of mind. Maybe it's only me, but I'm always a little bit nervous. You know, is my suitcase too heavy? Is the plane on time? If I go to the United States, is it overbooked? All these kinds of things. Will there be a long queue for checking in? The security and all that. So try to reproduce that kind of mind state. Don't worry, it is not a relaxed one, okay? We go a bit further then. How do you feel from home to the airport? Not to pick somebody up, but for you to fly off. And then you visualize yourself, or you think you're at the check-in counter. You know, maybe the queue was long, was not long, doesn't matter, but you're standing in front of that person there. You put your suitcase on the scale. It's not too heavy. You are handing in your passport. She's very friendly. She types something in her computer, and she hands you back the boarding card and the passport, and you see your suitcase going in. And you feel as if you have arrived. Because now there's nothing more to do. You have to wait until the plane goes, but there's nothing to do. So try to reproduce that state of actual freedom. Light, the suitcase is gone. It's not too heavy. There were no problems. You have your boarding card. The plane is not late. So this is how you should, this is a good state to start your meditation and to try to maintain it during the meditation. Because there's a lot of things going on in the airport. And we are interested, we are curious, but we're not getting involved. So don't imagine meeting somebody that you know. You don't know anybody in that airport, but people are there. And these people are like our thoughts. So they come and go, they pass, we notice them, but we're not getting engaged. We're just present. And we're just present and we just notice what is going on. So now we let go of the airport and the people. That was just an example. And you come to your body and to your mind state. So when you feel that you're really distracted, one can always take either the body posture, knowing directly, unmistakably that you're sitting, and you can keep that awareness. The same way in the airport, you are keeping an awareness that you have to take a plane. You know, you have to not go obsessively, I have to take the plane, I have to take the plane, I have to take the plane, but you know it. And you can relax because you know it. So here, we have to be present. So we relax because we know that we have to be present. And then you observe. State of mind. Without manipulating anything. This is what awareness is all about. We don't manipulate. We make the step out. We don't identify. We observe. Or some people like to take the breath, like in breath, out breath, to let the mind rest on it. That's, let's say, you know, you are tired of watching all these people, you sit down and you maybe read a book. So you're focused on one thing. And in order to make the breath a little bit more interesting, you could imagine that you can't breathe. You see, we take it for granted that we can breathe. But you can imagine having been or being in California with these wildfires. Or you can imagine having COVID-19 where you can't breathe either. So enjoy every in-breath and every out-breath. Appreciate that the air that you're breathing is more or less okay and that your lungs are working properly. And then notice the difference when we breathe with appreciation and when we just breathe. And another thing that is really, really important also, bring some friendliness, some softness, some tenderness into the practice. And again, notice if something changes. Don't be harsh on yourself, don't push. We cannot force the mind to do anything. So we'll just keep sitting like this a few more minutes. You are present, you notice, you're not getting engaged. If your mind is very, very busy, you can put your awareness on your breath. Otherwise, just remain open. Allow everything to arise and then to pass away. If you're confused, watch the confusion. If you're open, notice the spaciousness. You get engaged with your thoughts and you notice it, don't be frustrated. Because that's your progress in the practice when you notice. That is the practice. Bringing the mind back again and again and again. Just to be open and just to notice, or to be with the breath. And then when the mind is calm, then we start to again look for that deep, deep yearning that we have for purity, for goodness, for love, for compassion, for being a good person. And you connect to that. And if you can think, this is my potential. I can be pure. I can be loving. I can be good. Because that's my nature. It is natural. It is normal. But unfortunately, it's covered by our misconception and unhelpful emotions to be able to live that potential. But to connect with that longing, with that yearning again and again and again and again, we actually nourish it. And the wish to be able to live it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And if you combine it with your teachings and your studies about what brings happiness, what brings suffering, then slowly, slowly, the unhelpful emotions decrease. They don't have so much power over us anymore. And the normal ones become more normal. So this is why also from time to time, the motivation, what do I really want? Why am I doing this? Like here, listening to this talk, now sitting and kind of not doing anything. What's the purpose? And we will feel, we will know, because I want to be happy. It's as simple as that. And then to make it a little bit more meaningful and a little bit wider, if you can think, okay, I want to be happy too, but maybe not just for myself. Maybe so I can benefit other people, or other people can benefit from my happy state of mind. So instead of harming them, I can keep them good company. They relax when I'm there. They're happy. They're full of trust and joyful. So if that's the motivation for doing these things, then it becomes very, very meaningful, no matter how the kind of the practice goes. Purpose of my life is to be able to be of benefit to others. Try to taste that thought. Does it frighten you? Does it inspire you? No need to think, ooh, but how? I don't know how to do that. You don't go that far. We're just creating the wish. When the wish is there, skillful action will follow. So try it out. Purpose of my life is to be of benefit to others in whatever way I can. Can you see the screen share or not?
Yes.
Huh? Were you able to see it? There. What do you think about this one? Is it big enough?
Yes.
I can't make it any bigger. That's as big as I can make it. You think it's true? What do you think? No opinions?
Absolutely true.
Absolutely true. Thank you. Everybody agrees? Yeah, so it's good, you know, when you complain about something, maybe I found it on the internet just 5 minutes before I put on the Zoom. So when you complain about something, you know, maybe print the thing and put it on your fridge or something so that we know, yeah, I created it myself. The other one, oh, where did you find it? Okay, were you able to relate to that feeling in the airport when the suitcase goes? Do you also have this? It's such a nice feeling, isn't it? So we can, this is a good, I think it's a good feeling to bring to the cushion. You know, nothing to do. I have arrived. For the moment, there's nothing more to do. What do you think, Leora Price, the professional meditator? You have to open your microphone, please.
First of all, this topic of taking the aeroplane, for me, it's never a relaxation.
Not even when the suitcase.
Yeah, because then there's tension in myself always.
Okay, so then it's not a good example. So that's good.
But
yeah, it's good to know this for me doesn't work. Okay.
I mean, there is a difference between the time I have to catch the train and to be on time of the train and then to get to the airport. It relaxes as I get further to India, it's get better and better. But still on the plane, it's the best because then there I've really nothing to do.
Okay.
There's always some
Okay.
out or some, I don't know how it will be or something. But what I find for myself, which relaxes me the best before I start the meditation, is this taking these 3 deep breaths and I take in one breath and then hold it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And when I take out the breath,
mm-hmm.
sometimes I do it from the mouth with a sign like, and I find that everything that bothers me even if I don't realize what's bothering me, is getting
it dissolves
from the mind. And when I finish this 3 breathing, I feel really, really relaxed.
Okay, so yeah, you can also do that. There's many things you can do. Yeah, good. Okay, because again, you know, this is very individual. Not everybody, there is no such thing that this is right and this is wrong. And this is on one hand, which makes Buddhism really beautiful because it's an experience thing. You have to experience it. And then for you, it works. For others, it doesn't work. And it's not that it works always for you. Sometimes it does, sometimes it does not. So being aware of it, training this basic awareness by just turning inside and looking what's going on, you will also learn what is good for me now, right? So, and then again, the purpose, what is good for me now? Why do I want this to be good? What do I want to do with this? And so again, it's really good to know. Purpose of meditation is to know what's going on, and especially to know the nature of your mind. And so when you think that you're not a good meditator and your mind is not on the breath, it doesn't really matter, because the object can be the breath, or it can be subjective, like you noticing that you're not on the breath. So that is also then, awareness, and you're noticing it. So you don't have to worry so much about, I have to be on the breath, otherwise I'm not a good meditator, because otherwise you get too stiff and you get too much doing. Again, too much doing something.
Can I add something, please?
Yes, please.
I just finished, I think it's beneficial for everybody. Just finished today reading, a bit studying this book, Mind Beyond Death, that you recommended me about. And it's a whole book that speaks about different practices for the 6 bardos. But in the beginning and in the end, he says, the main thing is just be in the present. Forget about any practice.
Exactly.
Be how you are, where you are. This is the main thing. And it touched me and really shocked. And I really took it to my heart that this is the main Buddhist practice, to be in the present, to be what there is.
This is true, but if that's enough, you see, then the Buddha wouldn't have given 84,000 teachings. So it's true, but all the teachings, they bring us there that we can stay there naturally, because otherwise if we don't have, I think, if we don't have any tools, how to work with our unhelpful emotions, they hijack us and we just start to create more and more havoc. I think that's also, but as you say, being in the present is the only place where you can change something. It's the only place where you can transform something. So we will do some studies, okay? We will not just stay present for the next 45 minutes, if that's okay with you guys. I think we have arrived last time on verse 43, where it is, where it is about karma. 42 and 43 we discussed last time. It was like, previously I must have caused similar harm to other sentient beings, therefore it is right for this harm to be returned to me, who is the cause of injury of others. Both the weapon and my body are the causes of my suffering, since he gave rise to weapons and I to the body. With whom should I be angry? So I have created, with my attachment to existence, I have created this body. The other one is hurting me with his weapon. So who is to blame? Isn't there that both of us are to blame? And the homework was that you are kind of looking at this a little bit, and because karma is one of the most hidden phenomena, and we can't really check, as Tom was saying, it's a bit of the black box, even though if you really examine, it makes so much sense, even though we don't see the cause anymore, but we know that there has to be a cause, because nothing exists without a cause. Yeah, in the material world, we understand these things. I think I took the example of the garden, which has no seeds in it, even though the conditions are really well. So we start to develop that trust. And I think also we start to develop trust that when we start to take care of our actions and we start to really train ethical conduct, like non-harming conduct, that quite quickly we feel much better. Yeah, this has quite a quick result, unless, again, you know, there's always an yes but. Unless everybody around you is totally unethical and everybody around you feels that you're so absolutely stupid not to cheat and not to lie and, you know, to pay all your taxes and to pay for everything, even though nobody comes to check and all these things, then very quickly, unfortunately, you lose interest. Maybe not you, but let's say many people would lose interest in ethical conduct. This is why it's so important, as much as possible, we keep ethical conduct to be an example, to show people, but without telling them you have to do this as well, but just to live it, to live ethical conduct, this non-harming in a way. And your task was to check the pros and cons, to take this theory of, you know, whatever is created, at one point it will give a result, a concordant result. What are the pros, what are the cons if you start to adapt that, and if you start to believe it, and if you start to trust it. Has anybody done that? Yes, no?
Yes,
No.
I have done that.
Tom has done that, okay? Good with the homework, Tom.
Actually, yeah, I started to implement it every time and find it very helpful.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I think the biggest pro, I think, was that if I take this karma thing into practice and I observe it, then it makes me always be on guard of what I do. Like, it helps me see, like, am I doing something that will benefit me or will it not benefit me in the future life? I mean, in looking at things that other people do, it comes from bad karma or good karma. I mean, not necessarily saying they are bad and therefore they should get bad karma, but just saying, yeah, I received this bad thing due to negative karma that I may have created sometime in the past. And so the pro is being attentive all the time. But in a way, it's also the flip side of this thing was I found myself very self-absorbed in myself, like concerning my future self, concerning that what am I doing? If I'm doing it, will it benefit me in the future or not? Am I creating good karma, bad karma? So it was all self-centered, very much to the benefit of me.
But that's what it's meant to be, actually, at the beginning. You see, if you know the Lamrim, the teachings on karma comes on the first level, where we really start to look after ourselves, that we have, again, in our next lives, the good situation that we can continue with the practice, because otherwise we can't. Otherwise, we're going to plunge to a lower state. So, and it is important also to be able to look after ourselves. It's important that we work for our own happiness. Yeah, then when that happens, then we can start to open up our heart and look after others. Yeah. Okay. So don't, because you see, you can, if you are like a formal Buddhist, before you do your practices or before you go out of the house, you actually take refuge and you generate bodhicitta. So then even if you do something that seems to be self-absorbed, but that's the short-term goal, that you are well, but the long-term goal that you generated in the morning is to become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Yeah. And with, you know, as I say, you can become a little bit obsessive, but by becoming obsessive, all of a sudden that falls away because you're doing it naturally, because you have trained the mind to do it naturally. And it's a little bit like when you learn how to ride a bicycle, You have to be very attentive, and very often also they put 2 little wheels on the side to support you. Yeah. After a while, you don't need those wheels anymore. You can take them off, and then you can run freely. But at the beginning, you need at the beginning, we need first to see that, oh, I thought I was ethical, and all of a sudden we noticed, oi, not so much actually. Yeah. Again, only with this basic awareness that we look inside, and especially we look at our, not just the action, but at our motivation. And then in order not to become too obsessed or too depressed, it's good to see, yes, okay, I am thinking about me now, but I can open up the mind and think, but if I'm not well, there's no way I can benefit others, and I cannot continue with my practice. So the purpose can be, actually, I want to be well in order to be able to benefit others. Yeah. It's a training. Ethical conduct is a training. Yeah, and it seems that some people are born with it, but I don't think so. I think they just trained in previous lives. So do you think it's rather, so that's kind of the short-term effect, or you're saying, but would it influence one's life in a positive way or in a negative way? If we start to think, well, whatever happens to me, kind of, I created it in the past, because that can go totally wrong also, that you start to feel guilty and I deserve it, and yes, harm me and hurt me and all these kind of things. That would be totally not the right way of understanding. Like what we had this story with the matches, if a child is playing with the matches and then it gets burned, and the child thinks, because the parent said, don't play with the matches, and the child thinks, oh, I'm bad because I'm not doing what mommy and daddy says, and doesn't understand that playing with the matches, you get hurt. If the child understands by playing with the matches, you get hurt, it can create some compassion for itself because it doesn't want to suffer, and it stops playing with the matches. It knows the consequences. Whereas if it feels I'm getting punished by mommy and daddy, and this is why I got burned, then it's not helpful. Yeah. So it's not a punishment, karma is not a punishment. So this is what we have to understand. It's a natural, I do something, this will be the consequence. And it's, it sounds very simple. It sounds like 1 and 1 is 2, but it's very complicated, because also the actions, the way we do them, with what mind state, the circumstances, the conditions. So this is why, nobody can really know exactly why this happens and why exactly it happens, like knowing all the aspects and knowing all the factors. It's a little bit the same when you have a handful of seeds and they come from the same plant, yeah, and you just throw them out into the same kind of field, and some of them, they grow really nicely, and some of them, they don't grow so nice. So I don't know, if you would be a biologist, would you be able to say already in the seed, this one is going to be good and this one is going to be not so good? We don't know. Yeah. But it's not coincidence. It is because of the conditions that are there. Is that clear? Do you find, for most of you, or for some of you, do you find this teaching, do you find this helpful, that somebody says, hey, this happens to you because you did this kind of action in the past, be it agreeable or not agreeable? Do you find this helpful, that we know why we suffer?
Yes.
I find it very helpful. Even if it's not pleasant to hear, it's much more pleasant to give somebody else to blame somebody else. Yeah, it's not very pleasant, but I find it very helpful. So I think also with what we did this morning, which was more psychology and all this, and so the emotions were called, it was mixed with Buddhism, but not being allowed to use Buddhist terms. So the emotions were not called positive or negative, but they were called helpful and unhelpful. And this I found very, very helpful. You know, for us to notice, what do I really want? This is important. So we want to be happy. And then we go, okay, this mind state or this mind state or this kind of emotion, is that helpful to create happiness? Just that. I mean, it's for me, it was very helpful to rather talk like this than positive and negative. Good and bad we never use anyway, but we use positive and negative because we don't really understand also positive and negative, because negative already there is like, it shouldn't be there, there's aversion, it's bad, these kind of things. Helpful, unhelpful? What do you think about this?
Anila,
Yeah.
More
Tommy, okay, we have Tommy wanting to say something. Tommy Horowitz.
yes. I remembered your last retreat on karma in Nesamim, and you divided us to groups, and we were talking about karma. And I think I said then, this was my second retreat, I think. I realized that for me, when you say helpful, for me, karma, it makes my life much easier. I can explain to myself sometimes very horrific things that happened around me.
Yeah.
Karma. And it just makes it easier, I think. I couldn't find the cons. I was stuck with the pros all the time.
Yeah.
This week with doing this homework.
Yeah.
And I found that it's very helpful actually. And it makes life easier when you accept it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more bearable, isn't it, when something really negative happens? And also it makes us more careful. Yeah, because sometimes we can do unhelpful or unskillful actions and there's no consequences because, you know, we didn't get caught. And then we think, oh, you know, no problem. So what I usually use with the karma is like, if you drive on the highway and you drive far too fast, you know you're doing something wrong, but then you get off the highway and the police didn't get you and there was no camera making a photograph. So you think you got away with it, isn't it? It wouldn't come to your mind to call the police and say, look, I'm sorry, I drove too fast. Can you please send me the bill? Yeah. You would never do that. No. The problem is the karma camera is on all the time.
Yeah.
You know? Everything gets stored there. So the bills, they will be presented at one point, or you know, so here, because we're talking about anger, so it's more, Shantideva talks more about negative karma than positive karma, like, or helpful or not helpful. So this is it, you know, we think if nobody saw it and there's no immediate consequence, we forget about the whole thing. And then when it comes, then we don't remember anymore because it might be in a future life. Yeah. So somebody also said at one point, karma is a bit like ordering something on the internet, because you can purify your negative karma, your negative imprints before they come to ripen. So somebody said it's a bit like on the internet. It's very easy to order it, but if you don't want it anymore and you want to disorder it, it's very difficult. It's very complicated. Yeah. And sometimes when it does, like now in the corona, because I ordered something and it came, I think it did actually come from China, and it, you know, for months it didn't come. So it can also be that you ordered something and then you forgot that you ordered it. This is also karma. And then it comes. Okay, if it's something pleasant that you still want, then you're quite happy. But if you forgot that you ordered it and it's something that you don't want anymore, you get upset, you get angry, and you go like, why are they sending me these things? Yeah, so a little bit like that. So we can compare it with this. Okay, so with the karma, we're kind of clear. Yeah, you don't have any more questions about like karma, because it's very complex, it's very complicated, has a lot of aspects to it. So it's quite good if you, in the Lamrim, if you look at it from time to time.
I think that to understand the karma is the first thing that karma is, I think, as my experience, is only comes when you have the motivation. So I think in order to understand the karma, the motivation is the number one basics, because
Yes.
without it,
Definitely.
There's nothing.
Definitely.
I am 100% of my time worried about veganism and plastic and everything I do. I calculate everything in my brain, and I feel like I experience the wanting things to get better and wanting things to be like perfect and not harming anything.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my environment is not the way that I wish it to be.
Yeah.
So, and I used to be the opposite of that. I used to not care at all. I used to mock veganism. I used to be so out of it. And the motivation is the number one step. And when I don't have the motivation, it's like, well, I do have it now, but it's I think the motivation is the generosity towards ourselves first, which is everything you're saying basically.
Exactly.
But it's to the generosity for ourselves and for the planet to have the motivation. Exactly.
Yeah, you're totally right. And if we don't even have that, if we can't even take care of ourselves, which we are the most dearest thing in the whole universe, then we can't take care of others. If we don't even care what happens to us, why would we care what happens to others? Yeah, so then there's something wrong. So Hagar said it's generosity. I would say it's compassion for oneself, not wanting to suffer. It's not fear. You see, shouldn't use the law of cause and effect or the teachings on karma with fear, but with compassion. Oh, I don't want to suffer in the future, so therefore I try as much as possible to abstain from these actions. And again, as Hagar says, but at least sometimes we do have to do actions that are not so helpful, but at least to check the motivation why we're doing it. Yeah, to check the mind state, with what kind of mind state we are doing it. Okay, so we come to verse.
I want to ask something, please.
Yes, Elisheva. Oh, the group is coming to life. How wonderful.
So time is not just part of our concept, it's also part of reality. Time, what's become before and what's come later, it's also because karma, it's first you do and then it's what you get. So time is part of reality also.
It's part of reality, but it's also a dependent arising. But there is a conventional past, present, and future, of course. Yeah.
So you can't do something, you can't get something and then do what get you these things. First you need to do it and then you get it.
Yeah,
karma.
It's the same as the garden, If you need to have the seed in order to get the fruit, otherwise, it's not the other way around. But there are seeds inside the fruit, so this is how it continues. Yeah, as the one seed grows, it makes some kind of fruit or a flower or whatever, and inside it has many, many more seeds of the same kind. This is why they say karma increases. Like from a small action, you can get a really big result. And that goes for helpful and unhelpful actions.
So it's not just our concept, time. It's also in the reality. It's not just our concept.
Well, now we could go into big discussion. What is reality? Yeah, on the conventional basis, nothing is real. Real means existing from its own side. Yeah, existing out there, separate from the mind and all this. And it's like when you say it's not just a concept, there is a certain reality. It's not, and they say it's only in your mind. No, it's our mind who shapes what is there. There is something there, which is like quantum physics, which is the possibility for something to be there. And then your mind starts to create it or to shape it, but something is there. Otherwise,
so maybe everything is there, but you choose something and then you go to this way. But everything is there. In quantum physics, they said everything is already there. The past, the future, present.
But then whoever looks makes what appears. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's it. But there is something, a base. But that base, when you ask Lama Zopa, so what's there? He says, oh, this is so subtle that you don't understand. And this is why also now His Holiness, he talks a lot about quantum physics, because it really goes with the teachings on emptiness and conventional levels. So like that. Okay. But really, really, really real, like independently existing? No, nothing exists independently. Because time is like, what is time? I mean, the present depends on the past. Otherwise, without past, you have no present. And the present will then go into the future. So then the future also depends on the present, which then becomes the past. So, they're all dependent on each other. Okay?
Well, what about awareness, Anila? Awareness does not exist by its own side?
No, it's depending on the moment before. Yeah. And awareness always has an object. Even if it's its own nature, it still has an object. Yeah. When you say from its own side, you mean independently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what I know is that it depends on the moment before.
On a mind, anyway. It depends on a mind.
Well, awareness and mind is the same thing, isn't it? Consciousness, awareness, mind, it's all the same thing. Whatever is mind is awareness, whatever is not mind is not awareness, like that. It depends on the moment before, so it's depending.
On itself. Sort of.
On itself. It's a stream of consciousness. It's a stream. It's moments of consciousness. That's why it has no beginning.
But it's not dependent on anything that is not itself. So it's more independent, maybe not 100% independent, but more independent than everything else.
Well, either it's independent or not independent. You can't have something that is 80% independent. That doesn't work like this. No. Either it is independent, or these are things that are mutually exclusive. It's like dead and alive, you can't say, sometimes we say he's half dead, but that doesn't exist. Yeah. Independent and dependent are mutually exclusive. You can't have, it doesn't overlap anywhere. So anyway, these are things you can discuss with Geshe-ma. She can totally destroy your view on this. I'm not able to destroy your views the way she can do it. Okay, but let's go to verse 44.
Can I ask something again about karma?
Yes.
So, to be true, I'm still not automatically can say, oh, this comes from my previous life. This I'm doing not to hurt myself in my next life, etc. But what I really found out that is almost automatically I'm thinking that where is my responsibility to these things here?
Yeah.
Yesterday, last year, last week, last hour, and how can I do it the next time? How can I do it different? And that that has a real benefit.
That is okay. That's good enough. Anyway, if something difficult happens to us, then we have the tendency wanting to know, oh, I wonder what we did. So sometimes we ask the lamas, and I think it was Ringo Tulku when he was in Israel. Also, somebody asked him a question like this. He said, "Why is the past so important? It's finished. Look into the future. Look what you're doing now, because this is going to shape the future." And as you say, Noah, it's so true. It's like it's our own responsibility. Yeah, we are creating these things. We are creating our suffering and we are creating our happiness. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So verse 44, Tom, do you have the text somewhere so we can? Okay. if in blind attachment I cling, for although they do not, if in blind attachment I cling to the suffering abscess of a human form, which cannot bear to be touched, with whom should I be angry when it is hurt? Okay, so you can, everybody understood there? Yeah. I have another, a little bit other translation here, which is, this human form is like a running sore, merely touched, it cannot stand the pain. I'm the one who clings to it with blind attachment. Whom should I resent when pain occurs? Yeah, we are attached to our bodies. I think we can, our body is such, it's a wonderful thing. This is true, to practice, to help others and all these kinds of things. It's a wonderful thing, but it's also very, very fragile, and we cling to it. And we could have a Buddha body. Now I'm talking Buddhist here, okay? So we could have a Buddha body, which is a body made out of light, only there to benefit others, but we cling to this body, which is so fragile. So having taken rebirth in samsara with contaminated aggregates, even small sufferings become unbearable. Just think of a mosquito. This is what the Dalai Lama says. He says, if you think you cannot, as one person, make a difference in the world, just think of a mosquito in your bedroom at night. And you hear, zzz. Okay, so we know this mosquito maybe is going to bite us. It's not the end of the world, but look at the state of the mind. Being afraid of this mosquito bite and getting out of bed and trying to catch it. As a Buddhist, you're not killing it, but trying to catch it, putting it out, and this and that. If you have bed bugs in India also, and the bugs are in your bed, you're not going to sleep anymore. This is more painful. Yeah, or a little scratch, or, So this, again, is good to just, it's part of our existence, but we would like to have a body that doesn't have any pain. I'm not saying you shouldn't look after your body, but we are totally unrealistic in this. No matter how much you take care of your body, there will be pain, whether you want or not. So we cling to these 5 contaminated aggregates. So when we go for medical tests and receive unfavorable results, we panic. Yeah. Imagine going to the doctor and he says, oh, sorry, you have cancer or something, or, COVID-19 or something like that. Yeah, then for the first moment, everything stops. And we always have, maybe not you, I'm saying we, but we get up in the morning and we're healthy, and we have this feeling that I'm going to be healthy tonight. I'm going to go to bed healthy. We have this expectation, as if a healthy body is the normal thing. I tell you, a healthy body is not normal, because the body is so fragile. So we should actually be happy, kind of, we should be surprised when we're not sick, and not be surprised when we're sick. Because if you are a doctor, then you know how many conditions it needs for this machine to work. It is so fragile, and it can just go like this, just any moment. Okay, so again, we cling to this, we have it, so now we need to make the best of it, kind of, with this verse. One is, what would be, what you think will be, well, again, the whole thing is about arguments that we can use in order not to get angry, okay? So I think when we know that something is very fragile, we're not getting so upset when there's suffering or when it hurts. Do you understand what I'm saying? You see, if you have a china, well, no, that's not good, because it's probably very valuable. If you have an egg that is very fragile and it breaks, you're not going into a big thing, because eggs break. So when we understand, because we have a wrong idea of our body, we think of our body when it's healthy as strong, and almost indestructible. Again, it's an instinctive feeling that we have. It's not an intellectual knowledge, but it's an instinctive feeling. And then we get surprised when it goes into suffering. So when we start to get familiar with the idea that our bodies are very, very fragile, and we don't like suffering, we don't like pain, then what could it also produce as a Buddhist? What could it also produce as a Buddhist? Renunciation.
We can...
Yeah, Yael? Yael, you wanted to say we can, and then...
Yeah, we can thank our body if it's not, if we don't take it for granted. That's what I thought you meant.
You can take care of your body, but even no matter how much...
No care.
Your internet connection is not so good. You want to write it in the chat? Because
we can thank... Yeah.
I don't know about the others because I don't understand what you're saying. It cuts. Do you want to write it in the chat so then I can see it there? But what it can produce is renunciation. I'm sick and tired of taking on this bag of problems again and again and again and again, for example. Yeah. And especially, not to be so irritable, especially if somebody harms us, not to get angry with them, to also say, okay, they bump into me or they harm me or they hurt me and the body. So why should I get angry? Because it's also my attachment who created it. Or the irritability that we have when we are sick. Have you ever noticed? You can be grateful for your body when it's healthy. Yeah, not take it for granted. This you can do, yeah. But you see, why is it said in the scriptures? Why do we take on a body? What do we, when we're not practicing the Dharma? Okay, a Bodhisattva, why does a Bodhisattva take on a body?
He has a way to help others.
Exactly, spontaneously. That's the only reason why a Bodhisattva gets reborn, because he could go off into Nirvana, an Arya Bodhisattva, somebody above the path of seeing, path of meditation. They wouldn't have to be reborn in this suffering kind of where we are with the human body. So why do they take on a body? Is, as Gidi says, in order to be of benefit to others. What do we use our body for? Mainly ordinary beings. Again, maybe not you. And look at what you think are ordinary beings. Where do our thoughts go spontaneously?
Looking for pleasure.
Huh?
Looking for pleasure.
Looking for pleasure. Looking to gratify our ears, our nose, our tongue, our skin, like with the touch, isn't it? That's what we use it for. And this is why we get so depressed when we're sick, because you can't have pleasure anymore. The purpose of life seems to be gone. And it's so ridiculous. Every time, I was in hospital twice and I had to take medicines, which made me kind of nauseous. And people bring you all these beautiful chocolates and beautiful foods and all this, but you have there's no pleasure eating it because the mind is not in the right state. But it's great to give them to the nurses. So they were very happy to get these things. Yeah. So we cling to this body because we think it's a machine for pleasure. But Shantideva is telling us, come on, guys, it's a machine for pain. Yeah. Can we accept what he says?
It's both.
Huh?
It's both. I mean, there's also pleasure. If it was just pain, it would be easy to renounce.
Okay, there's just pleasure. All
no,
right.
not just, both. Pleasure and suffering.
Is also pleasure. Okay. Now, when we look at dukkha, when we look at samsara, when we look at the 5 contaminated aggregates, there is the dukkha of pain.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also the dukkha of
change.
And this we forget.
Yes.
You see, what we call pleasure, the Buddha calls the dukkha of change. And then another thing that we don't understand at all is the all-pervasive conditioned suffering, that with this machine of body and mind, with these 5 contaminated aggregates, what we carry with us 24 hours a day is the potential to fall into the suffering of pain. No matter how much pleasure we have, you know, no matter how many conditions we have to have pleasure. Yeah. So we label pleasure for happiness. And this is what makes for a human being renunciation so difficult. And when we are born in a more suffering state, we can also not renounce because we don't have the space to practice. So this is why we have to really, really look at our pleasures. Is that really what I want? Is that really the happiness that I want? These fleeting moments of having to consume something, having to have contact with something, and, you know, just to string them very closely together so I have an illusion of lasting happiness. And as I get older, maybe when I'm sick or when I'm poor or I'm in lockdown or whatever, and I cannot consume these objects anymore. And then it's the suffering of lack because I haven't found any moment of happiness somewhere else. Okay? And this is the problem of the human samsara, that we have pleasant moments. Now, then we start to explore these pleasant moments that come from objects, like sense objects, but then we also have very pleasant moments, which maybe we can end the evening like this. Also, again, we didn't get very far. We can have pleasant moments from not outside objects, and then to compare these two things. Yeah.
Yeah, there's much pleasure from meditation.
For example.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, how about you use your chat and now, and then you know, you write what makes you happy. You know, just very spontaneously now. My niece, okay? Being able to be of benefit to others, okay? Yeah. Feeling that I'm in control of my mind, yes. When I make a choice from inner values, friends, relationships, nature, loving someone, love, small moments, yeah. My family and helping. Mm-hmm. So you see, some of these things rely on outside things. Some other things don't rely on outside things. So for example, love, you know, the feeling of love, I think we had it, I can't remember, maybe in the Yom Kippur, that I asked you, how does love feel? I try to express it somehow with your body, try to show it how love feels. So that's, we can feel love, which, you know, it's very difficult to define because we experience it. Sometimes not for an object, sometimes just this opening up. Yeah, loving someone, this is, yeah, loving, again, you know, is it attached love? It feels good, attached love, but it can go sour very, very quickly. Friends, the same thing. Nature, you know, Swiss people, I tell you, are big nature lovers. And what happened with the lockdown, so people couldn't go, all kinds of people couldn't go to nightclubs and restaurants anymore. So they went into nature. And what they did, of course, they left all the garbage behind because they're not used that in nature. You know, they're used that in the nightclub, they can also throw everything on the floor, but then there's the cleaning woman who comes the next morning who cleans it. They don't understand that nature can't do that by itself. So the nature lovers, I tell you, there was so much aggression against these people and so much hatred and so much frustration that they come and invade my space, yeah, because the forest is mine. I always go there. And now these others who usually don't go there, they also come and they put all these garbage. Wow, it was so tense, this whole thing. And people would really get upset. So if you love nature and nature makes you happy and you see that nature is being harmed, then that pleasure of nature is turning around really, really quickly. Yeah. Okay, so we can see most of our happiness is conditioned on outside things. Yeah. And then on top of it, what happens when we talk about karma? When we suffer, our negative karmic imprints get exhausted. When we have pleasure, does something get exhausted also? Like what?
The good, positive,
the
helpful influence.
Our bank account gets depleted. Yeah. And on top of it, when we have this kind of like sensual pleasure, one thing is the bank account gets depleted. We get attached to it. Yeah, because then we suffer when we don't have it anymore, when it's finished. And what else? And we're not practicing, we're not creating, we can't create patience, we can't create endurance. Maybe we can create enthusiasm, that's true. But there's no patience being, we get numb to it. Yeah, this is true. With sense pleasures, they need to be more and more exciting all the time. This is why, the world makes so much progress with these, the cakes and the things and this and that and the music and whatever is sense pleasure. It gets boring after a while, and then we need to change. This is the suffering of change. Whoever said that, who was it who said we get numb to it? Efrat, yeah. So this is good to observe it, and but then to know we don't have to get depressed because of this, because there is this inner happiness which comes from being in control of your mind. It's Hagar who said it, I think, but not in control like this, but kind of spontaneously, just to say, okay, no, a very firm no, and the how to say, the craving goes away. This is like such a beautiful thing. Or like another happy moment, which we can maybe reflect on it a little bit, is when you're able to let go. This is we can offer the pleasure. Yeah, definitely. That's also makes it double and triple. May all beings enjoy these beautiful things. And then we don't need it anymore. This is the other thing. Because you see, you will have pleasures and you will have pain. You can't say, oh, now I don't want to deplete my karmic bank account here. I don't want to have pleasures anymore. If your mind meets the conditions for a pleasant feeling, it will experience pleasure. So as Leora says, if you offer it, then it doesn't get depleted. But we need to think about this and not just like, oh, wow, how beautiful. And another way how it does not get depleted, and that's a bit sobering, this we don't like to do so much, when it's a sense pleasure, then we go, oh, but it's just a projection of the mind. The pleasure is not in the object. So we can use pleasure also to understand actually that the pleasure is not coming from the object, but the pleasure is coming from my mind. Yeah, but that sobers the whole thing a little bit, that the beauty is not in the object. The beauty is, or the pleasure is, because a positive imprint is ripening. And then we can, we can practice loving kindness and send it out to everybody, the good feeling. Okay?
I have a question regarding what you said.
I wanted to finish on time, hey, Tom.
Oh, okay. So it will have to.
No, it's okay. And from my side, it's okay. You can ask.
Just the thing that you said that our karma bank account is depleting, but in a way, karmic seeds and karmic potential is only, the way I understood it, there's a seed for a certain potential, so it's not interchangeable. It's not like a if I have lots of good karmic potential and then lots of other karmic potential, it will delete the other karmic potential. Each karmic seed, each action that I do leads to something that will happen to me in the future, no matter what. Or is it true to say that like?
Yeah, but that can't. You see, that seed is finished. That seed is finished, and then it creates a pleasant feeling. And then out of that pleasant feeling, which actually is something positive, if you put attachment on top of it, you create negative seeds. Okay, and that seed is finished. It will not bring any more result. Same for the negative ones or for the unhelpful ones. You know, this is why when we come to the next few verses, is that we exhaust also negative karma when we suffer. That is the positive thing or the beneficial thing about suffering. So this is why it's quite good to think about these things. You remember the verse when he reminds us there's 3 very good things in suffering. Do you remember these 3 things that are, you know, why suffering is actually positive and we just see it as negative?
I don't remember the verses, but I remember that it's in the upcoming few verses, I think.
Yeah.
About that if someone is being hurt, then if someone hurts me, then my karmic seed is being depleted, and that's
exactly. So that's one, and he keeps repeating that. I can't remember the number of the verses, and I don't have the whole text, I think, but I can find out. It's somewhere in the 20, you know, it's in the same chapter, but maybe it's pretty much at the beginning, because at the beginning he says about, you know, the disadvantage of anger and then the advantage of suffering. And so it's 3 things that are the good things in suffering. One is, as you say, it depletes, it purifies negative imprints. The second one, it makes us humble. We're not arrogant when we suffer. And the third one is that we start to understand other people that are in the same situation. We create empathy. Yeah, arrogance has no empathy. You know, I'm feeling good, I'm wonderful, and this and that. We don't see others who suffer when we're arrogant. But like this, we become more humble, and then we can connect to others. Speak with family members, friends, also Joyce. It's 21. Oh, thank you, Noah. It's verse 21. Okay, so anyway, so we do a short reflection and then we finish more or less on time. I didn't go over that much this time. Well, in the Yom Kippur, I think I went over a whole hour or something. Okay. Homework. What shall I give you as homework for the week? What do you want to look at? The suffering of change. Try to understand that one, you know, because this suffering of pain we understand, and we totally concentrated on that one. But that, as His Holiness says, even animals understand that one, okay? But suffering of change, you know, something that, because it comes in the next verse, yeah, where it says, we who are like senseless children shrink from suffering but love its causes. We hurt ourselves, our pain is self-inflicted. Kind of, we run after the pleasures, not seeing that it actually creates suffering. Yeah, we mistake it for happiness. We put the label happiness on the wrong thing. Yeah, so this is what you can, you know, when you have a pleasant moment or things like that, and when it goes, look at the mind. Is it instinctively looking for something to replace it? Or is it creating gratitude? Or as Leora says, the sharing? Or is it creating gratitude as Yael was saying? Oh, wow, I had such a beautiful moment. How wonderful. Somebody else created the cake or the, you know, the painting or the music or whatever. Yeah. Or is the mind instinctively looking for the next moment of a good thing? Try to observe that. Is that okay? Is it clear? Suffering of change, because that's the one we need to understand. Suffering of pain, that's okay, we understand. Okay, so then let's just go into a little bit dedication mood, like a happy frame of mind that we spent this hour and a half, not to argue, not to hurt ourselves, but with good intentions. We didn't have to prove anything. Yes, like dukkha of change, exactly. Suffering of change, dukkha of change, the second suffering. It's only with this that we start to kind of develop renunciation. Otherwise, no way. Okay, so try to generate a happy or a content feeling. Maybe not so much content that this is finished and over, but that we did it together and maybe we learned something, maybe we didn't. And then think of, what you wrote to me, what makes you happy. Produce that feeling by thinking about the person or the object or the action or whatever. A happy feeling of love, of connection. Something that even the memory brings back that feeling. Because if it's a sense object, very often it brings back longing and not gratitude or open heart. And then you transform the feeling that you feel in your body, you transform it into a ball of light. Light that represents all your good wishes for the world, for all beings. First for the ones that you really love. And you visualize and you think that, where the feeling is, usually it sits in the heart, but it's that ball of light starts to grow. And it pervades your whole body. Be concentrated on the visualization because it will have some effect, most probably. Just think, that light pervades my whole body. The feeling of love is not just in the heart, it's everywhere, in my hands, in my arms, in my toes, in my stomach. And then it grows and grows and it comes out through all the pores of our body in all directions. And it's bringing light to all the dark corners of this world. Our good intention to be of benefit. Our good intention not to harm. Our wish to share the love and the happiness that we have. May all beings be able to enjoy, to be in contact with these happy feelings of love, connectedness, trust, harmony. And we see how it touches each and every sentient being. It goes to the east, it goes to the west, it goes to the north, it goes to the south, and it goes above and below. And it just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading. May all beings be able to enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. Thanks to my merits of doing these practices. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. I'll be able to lead them to that state. And since suffering has causes, we can actually stop the suffering. So just try to see, what does it do if I trust this? And what does it do if I just think, oh, this is just coincidence? Suffering has causes, and that's a good thing. This is what then we can stop it, we can eliminate it. So to trust that everybody has this wish to be free from suffering and to have happiness, and at one point the mind will go in the right direction in order to be free from suffering. To see that this is possible. Peace is possible, happiness is possible, harmony is possible, well-being is possible. May I be able to contribute to that. Okay. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the evening and your week. As far as I know, we're having Friday, Saturday. Yeah, we have 2 sessions each day on the 4 immeasurables. Also, His Holiness is teaching very early in the morning. So maybe we can then, take something from what he's teaching on eloquent speech or something like that, I think, isn't it? From Lama Tsongkhapa. So it will be very, very heady. Yeah, you're very welcome, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the homework is observe the suffering of change and see how irritable you get when the pleasure finishes. This is it, this is what this verse is all about, is that we get irritated when we're not happy. Instead of understanding that we're exhausting negative karma. It's not an easy task, okay? So maybe you will succeed, maybe not. But it's interesting to see that suffering of change. Try to be interested instead of getting frightened of it. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Do take care.
Thank you.
And see ya.
לילה טוב, ריקה, לילה טוב כולם. Good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Dalit. Dalit is always very quiet with her medicine Buddha there. But
Yeah,
then,
today I'm very quiet, yes.
yeah, then I recognize your voice because I can't read it because it's in Hebrew, but I recognize Buddha by now.
My mind is working too much today.